everybody. Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Hi. Thank you all so much for being here. This is wonderful. And everyone out there. Now it's suddenly so quiet. This is lovely. Thank you all so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure to have CAConrad with us today. So thank you for joining us. And then I have just a couple of announcement-y things to say and some thanks, starting with the thanks. So this afternoon's events are part of the Poetry Coalition's 2025 programming on the shared theme of poetry and shelter. So thanks, many, many thanks to all of our friends, colleagues in the Poetry Coalition. To say a bit more about what that is, the Poetry Coalition is an alliance of nearly 30 independent poetry organizations across the United States. The Academy of American Poets is the administrative and fiscal coordinator of the Poetry Coalition, which is supported by the Mellon Foundation. So thanks to all of those organizations and the people who make them possible and do all that good work. We are a founding member of the coalition and are grateful to the Academy and Mellon for the support of our collective work, which in general is very important, but especially in light of government divesting entirely from arts funding, all the more so now. So yay, coalition friends, thanks. And so this involves, of course, a reading, which will begin shortly, I swear. But also there's this wonderful pamphlet that was printed by Chuck Stebleton here at Woodland Pattern. I can just, you can open it yourself too. There are many at the front, but just to show you how it works, in case you needed that tutorial. But those are free to take. Those are a gift to you for being here with us. So please take those, and then of course enjoy the installed poems. The poem, there's one on the side of the building and one on the window, which you probably have seen already, but spend some more time with those. Those were lovingly installed by Marla Sandvik here at Woodland Pattern. So thank you both. And this is one of those events that was like kind of an all hands thing. Like everybody's here, and not to say that people don't chip in generally with events. Everybody here does. This whole staff is wonderful. But this one in particular, we've got Chuck and Marla back there, helming the live stream. Lewis, hi, out in the bookstore. And I know I'm just saying Jenny and Laura, wonderful executive directors. Molly, who's not here because Molly is getting food for us all to enjoy after this event. So. And Antonio. Thanks to all of my wonderful colleagues. It's, Okay. Two more things, which are upcoming events. Oh, I guess also I should say there are books for sale out front by CA. So, and then I just want to mention two things upcoming. One is our monthly open mic. If you want to come join us and read some poems, it's pretty great. Some welcoming, wonderful vibes provided by Antonio Vargas Nieto, who's the now education director here, who hosts that the last Friday of every month. So this month's last Friday is the 26th, so at 7 p.m. And then our annual poetry marathon is coming up. That won't happen until the end of January, but mark your calendars. And what will be sooner than that is the registration will open on October 1st. So anyone who would like to participate, share some work, enjoy the delirium of 24 hours of poetry and films and performance and good company. Sign up starting October 1st, and then see us at St. Kate, I should say, the Arts Hotel downtown, January 24th and 25th for the actual events. So there will be a lot more information available soon on our website, but worth mentioning because that registration's coming right up. Okay.
Can we bring blankets and pillows?
Yeah, make yourselves at home, And then, yes, as I mentioned, Molly's picking up food, so there's a reception to follow, so hang out with us after this. And now it's my incredible pleasure to welcome CAConrad and then stop talking so that I can hand the mic over finally. But thank you for bearing with the announcements. I appreciate you all. CAConrad has worked with the ancient technologies of poetry and ritual since 1975. Their latest book is Listen to the Golden Boomerang Return. They received the Ruth Lilly Poetry Prize, a Penn Josephine Miles Award, a Creative Capital Grant, a Pew Fellowship, and a Lambda Award. The Book of Frank is now available in 9 different languages, and they co-edited Supplication, selected poems of John Wiener's. They exhibit poems as art objects, with recent solo shows in Tucson, Arizona, as well as in Spain and Portugal. And with thanks for letting us have some of those as art objects here. They teach at the Sandberg Art Institute in Amsterdam. Former U.S. Poet Laureate Tracy K. Smith, writing about CAConrad, has said, quote, CAConrad's poems invite the reader to become an agent in a joint act of recovery, to step outside of passivity and propriety, and to become susceptible to the illogical and mysterious. When received logics fail, and one might wonder if they ever succeed, when language is brutally contorted to serve, say, white supremacist, patriarchal, fascist ends, to deny ecological collapse and our own impending extinction, to enumerate all these supposed enemies of an autocratic state, which hopefully includes us, then what remains? The illogic, then, the mystery is a counterweight, and the ancient technologies of poetry and ritual in CAConrad's hands are perfectly calibrated to enact the recovery of a deeper connection, to be in the world experientially, quote, do not solve life, experience it. Solidarity with all targets in motion. As Wyn has written, quote, I think of CAConrad's art and ways of being as interventions, creative acts that aim to restore conditions for regaining presence. It's these interventions and recoveries of presence that enact a poetics of uncommon attention and intention among the, quote, ecosystems of concrete and plastic. We're variously invited to find shelter, per the theme, and our own embodiments in compassion and love for all beings, both those living and dead, in resistance, from CAConrad, quote, mine is a poetics of uncooperation for all the brutal strategies built to sustain capital gain. And CAConrad often invokes something of a poetic seance, speaking with those who've left, holding them close, defying even the received logic of time, quote, a letter in the past tense about the future is my latest time machine. You should try it. And that invitation to try it seems key, speaks, I think, to the ways in which poetry and ritual for CAConrad can and should be a shared experience, a way in which all of us might allow ourselves to inhabit our corner of the world in all its illogic and mystery, through practices that can guide us past capitalist conceptions of time, space, violence, and ownership, quote, poetry not proprietary. So no landlords of the word or the mind in these radiant and prismatic poems. As CAConrad notes, quote, enough poems have been wasted on human cruelty. We dig hard to find the other world. And it may be that we've never needed that other world more. So grateful to be with you, digging together. Welcome, CAConrad.
Thank you. Oh my God, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Marla, Chuck, Lewis, everybody. And I just wanted to say that yesterday was the 10th anniversary of when the artistic directors of this place, Laura and Jen, found one another. So happy anniversary. We love you. I remember meeting you both before you knew one another, and it was just so wonderful to see you come together. It was like just a magical meeting. And now you're here in Milwaukee. Thank you. So I'm going to show images, and I finally figured out how to do this because they were up there. They were going to be up here. I wasn't going to have my computer, but it's going to work now. So, oh, and I'll just say, next, Marla. How's that? Does that sound nice? That sounds fun, right? Next, Marla. All right. Not yet, not yet. So the reason Emily Dickinson is up here is because this year is my 50th anniversary of writing poetry. And I know the exact date because Roberto, hi. Because my mother was in trouble with the law when I was a child and couldn't get work. And by the way, she wasn't stealing peanut butter. She was stealing really good, like filet mignon, a lobster tail. Fabulous thieving, my mother. It was good. But she got in trouble, and then she couldn't work. Nobody would hire her, so she put me to work selling bouquets of roses and carnations along the highway in rural Pennsylvania. I'm originally from Kansas, but she remarried this man named Conrad who adopted me, whatever, all this backstory. But my last name was usually McNeil. But anyway, this is the 1970s, and there weren't even any digital watches at that point. Nothing, it was just every analog was, nobody even used that word because it just was the life you were living, You don't use analog until digital comes, right? To differentiate. So anyway, my point is, there's seats over here. And there's a seat over here. How you doing? Don't run, it's all right. We're just having a poetry reading. No, really, it's, we're the ugly cousins of the art world. We can chill out with these things. But that meant that it turned me into, because this is every Friday after school till dusk, Saturday from dawn to dusk, Sunday from dawn to 3 or 4 in the afternoon. That's a lot of hours alone as a young person. So I became a reader, and I would go to the library every Thursday, and then I would get my stock of books, and I had just a folding chair and these buckets of bouquets, these flowers that I was selling from my mother. Anyway, on Easter Sunday, 1975, that was March 30th for some reason that year. I know because I looked it up this year. But the Thursday before that holiday, I went to get the books, and there was a very slender, like a Dover edition of Emily Dickinson. And where you check out your books at the library. The librarian was very important to me. Her name was Iris. She turned me on to many things when I was younger. She would say, because she knew my situation, and she loved that I was reading to fill the time, that she was like, she says, you're reading more than anybody else in this town right now. And I said, she said, what do you want to read this week? I said, you know what? I want to read a book about extraterrestrials, and I mean a real one. And she says, okay. And she gave me this book called Chariots of the Gods. And I would just drive my Pentecostal grandmother nuts. I would say, this book says that Jesus is from another planet. She's like, you're not allowed to say that in my house, But anyway, so there's Emily Dickinson on that Thursday. Not a big clip, but slender edition. And she says, do you like Emily Dickinson? I said, I have no idea who that is. But I put it in the pile just to be polite. And my mother was a thief, but she was very polite about it, And anyway, I read the books, and the only thing left on Easter Sunday was Emily. And I was like, well, let me just look at this. And I fell in love like that. It was like the gates of heaven opening. And I read it over and over. And that day I just started writing poems immediately, as in like a call and response with 19th century Amherst. And then that just went on from there. But so I want to begin. So then in 2005, I don't want to get into the long story about this, but so for the first 30 years, I was writing the old-fashioned way. You're inspired and you write. And then I had this crisis. I'll just tell you, I'm halfway into the story. So I made friends with these students in an MFA program, creative writing program, in 2005. And I'm still friends with these people. They're great. But they were connected in a way inside, like their lives they were living and their writing, that I'm not. I wasn't at the time. And I was curious about it. And then I realized, about not too long afterwards, what it was. Their parents who raised them are doctors, lawyers, engineers. I came from factory workers and a thieving mother, but, factory workers. And, the thing about that is when you go to work at a factory, you become an extension of that machine for 10 to 12 hours a day. Nobody's working 8 hours in this country anymore, this brutal, nasty country. So, what a stupid idea for a planet, like these jobs and landlords and all this shit we do. Stupid. But anyway, my family, they work at cardboard box factories, metal punch machines, dental floss. Anyway, in order to survive those jobs, being a piece of a machine those many hours, you need to shut the present off. It's the only way you can survive it. And their brains live in the past and the future. And when you talk with them, they're either depressed about the past or anxious about the future. I knew I needed a new relationship with time. So that's where I created these rituals to anchor myself in the present. So I just want to read. The first one was red. Do you want to hear about the first one? Okay, so the first one was red. I found a red wig behind the... I like to go to Barnes & Noble. You don't buy anything at Barnes & Noble. No. Steal? Fine. Not here, Barnes & Noble. The stealing part, I mean. And... because I worked for them. If you know anybody who's ever worked, they monitor your keystrokes. They're evil. They're tyrants. They're stupid, and they pay you no money. Anyway, so I was in Barnes. Barnes & Noble has, in their business section, there is a subcategory on marketing research. That is what I refer to as the new anthropology. These people are studying our physiology, the makeup of our eyeballs, so many things about us. And I was reading in one of these weird books, these capitalist mindfuck books that they have there. They're great, by the way, because you get to learn a lot about our bodies because they're studying us to sell us things we don't need or want. They found out that from this piece of research, a case study they did on attention, and they discovered that human interaction is 80 to 90% nonverbal. Now, I found that really difficult to believe back then, and they seem pretty sure of themselves. So, I just keep thinking maybe they're right. So I thought, well, okay, I found this red wig in a dumpster behind a beauty academy in Philadelphia where I was living at the time. It was half really straight and the other half badly permed. So I figured if I wear this thing around, I would get a lot of nonverbal communication on the street. And I learned two very valuable things lessons at the end of that first day of writing that first poem, which was the red. I would eat a single color food for a day for 7 days. So I wore the red. The first one was the red poem. Wore the red wig, ate red food. And what I learned was it anchored me. I was the most present I maybe ever was in my lifetime writing. The second thing I learned was that I would have never written that poem for any other reason at any other time. The ritual orchestrates the language. So I'm going to start by reading a ritual. Next, Marla. So you don't mind me saying it that way, do you? Because I love it. It's like ordering a pizza. So the thing is, the trees in her yard, these giant sycamore trees, these London plane sycamore trees, she planted those. These are the last living things on this planet who knew her when she was alive. So I'm always using these trees. I teach these workshops where I bury crystals either in the snow, because where I live, there's snow for months at a time, or in the ground, and then we use them in workshops to communicate with other trees and plants and squirrels if they let you, things like that. But I just love this tree with that eye in the middle, like a giant hydra. Next, Marla. Is it okay to say that? I love it. Oh, good. I'm so glad. So I'm going to read. This is the one thing I'm going to read off the screen because we don't have a copy of this with us here. But I'm going to read the poem I wrote. I'm going to read the ritual and the poem. Next, please. Okay. Anoint thyself. Visit the home of a deceased poet you admire and bring some natural thing back with you. I went to Emily Dickinson's house the day after a reading event with my friend Susie Timmons. I scraped dirt from the foot of huge trees in the backyard into a little pot. We then drove into the woods where we found miniature pears, apples, and cherries to eat. I meditated in the arms of an oak tree with a pot of Emily's dirt, waking to the flutter of a red cardinal on a branch a foot or so from my face, staring, showing me his little tongue. When I returned to Philadelphia, I didn't shower for 3 days, then rubbed Emily's dirt all over my body, kneaded her rich Massachusetts soil deeply into my flesh, then put on my clothes and went out into the world. Every once in a while, I stuck my nose inside the neck of my shirt to inhale her delicious, sweet earth covering me. I felt revirginized through the ceremony of my senses. I could feel her power tell me these are the ways to walk and speak and shift each glance into total concentration for maximum usage of a little lot of time on a planet. Lose and waste no more time, poet. Lose and waste no more time, she said to me as I took note after note on the world around me for the poem. Next, please. And this is the poem. Emily Dickinson came to Earth, and then she left. Your sweaty party dress and my sweaty party dress lasted a few minutes until the tomato was gone. Someday they will disambiguate you, but not while I'm around. Our species won. Emily, we won. It feels so good to be winning. The flame of victory passed around and never goes out. Dinosaurs ruled Massachusetts. Dinosaurs fucking and laying eggs in Amherst, Boston, Mount Holyoke. Then you appeared, high priestess, pulling it out of the goddamn garden with both hands. You, Emily, remembered the first time comprehending a struck match can spread a flame. It feels good to win this fair and square. Protest my assessment all you want. But not needing to dream is like not needing to see the world awaken to itself. Indestructible epiphanies consume the path. And just because you're having fun doesn't mean you're not going to die. Recrimination is the fruit to defy with unexpected appetite. I will be your outsider if that's how you need me. Electric company's stupid, threatening letters cannot affect a poet who has faced death. Next, please. So anyway, I went on to do many different rituals. I did a ritual for, I lost half of everybody I knew to AIDS in Philadelphia in the 80s and 90s. And so there's a lot in there, especially during COVID, which this book was partially written during COVID lockdown. And COVID just made me think about AIDS all the time. And whenever I talk about that, I make sure I mention that there was a lot of work to do. When you have that many sick friends, we're all in our early 20s, and some people are so sick they can't go to the grocery store. And the reason there was so much work to do is because 95% of every heterosexual abandoned us. I mean, gone to the suburbs. They're like, fuck you, I'll die, and then we'll come back after you're all dead, basically. So, yeah, I was a really angry teenager. I'm better now. But man, I would tear into people, I ran into somebody, the Poetry Foundation invited me to write an essay about AIDS and writing during the AIDS epidemic, and I couldn't do it for 7 years. I just couldn't do it. And then I ran into an old friend, air quotes, who was straight, and in 1988, said to her I thought I might be HIV positive. It turns out I wasn't, but she told all of our mutual straight friends who never spoke to me again. And then I ran into her on the street when I was trying to write this essay with her daughter, who was grad student somewhere, who cares? And she's like, oh, it's so nice to see you. I was like, oh, yeah. And I looked at her daughter and I said, hey, do you have friends that you treat like family? She's like, oh, yeah, lots of them. I said, well, don't treat them the way your mother did. And I just told her what her mother did, how she abandoned us, and she tried to get involved. I said, it's too late. She knows now. You're going to have to explain it. Goodbye, Don't say hi to me after all these years. As I was walking, I said, you didn't come to any funeral, not once. You didn't help anybody. You just left us. We were good for a party, for a laugh, right? So anyway, this is a book I did with extinct animals. I lived on the road for a decade. It was supposed to just be for a year, and it turned into 10 years because I didn't want to live anywhere here. And now I live in Western Massachusetts, which I like, but I filled my body. Next, please. So when I first started writing Amanda Paradise, the World Wildlife Association claimed You know, that's the consensus of environmental activists and scientists of all kinds. I must say Scientologists. Scientists of all kinds, entomologists, you know, ornithologists, mammalogists, and then everybody studying the soil, air. And I was trying to think. Okay, so they claimed that we had lost 60% of the wildlife. Now, as of November of last year, it's at 73%. And this summer in June, the heaviest bug season, I drove from Massachusetts to Colorado to teach, and then to Bard in New York, and then Kenyon and home. Didn't have to clean my windshield once. No bugs, no bird droppings. Next, please. What I was thinking about was I was flooding my body with these field recordings of these animals on this blanket everywhere. I went to all 50 states. The Creative Capital people gave me a grant. And I was dating this man when I was on the road who was a truck driver. We would coordinate, so we would meet in we were all over the 48 states and Canada and Mexico. It was great. But you know, nothing lasts forever, at least especially with me. But my point is, I would start at my feet with the speakers and move them up to my ears. I was thinking about ecopoetics as something beyond degraded soil, air, and water, thinking about vibrational absence. What happens when a species leaves the planet? They take all their sounds with them. Not just the ones we're familiar with, but their heartbeat's a sound. Their wing flutter, footfall, it's just gone, breath. Next, please. So I'm going to read a few of these poems. Do you need a different chair? Yeah, those do look more comfortable. Oh, I actually can read out of the book now. And put my glasses on. Golden in the morning crane our necks. In a past life, I was a little fish who cleaned the shells of turtles. A dream helped me remember their deep voice of thanks. Many nights I heard sharks waiting for the tide to draw me near. When the calendar runs out, it feels lucky another awaits. All I have ever wanted was to forge the English language into a spear and drive it into my heart. Between leaping and being shoved, the lonelier place to put my faith for the swinging motion inside the dance we share. Don the extraordinary suit for this ordinary day. Take our time studying trees to imagine the nests we would build if we were birds. I ask all you talented people spending many creative hours perfecting killer drones, guns, and bombs to please know we are waiting for you on the other side of art in the no-kill zone. Next, please. Next, please. I don't know why that looks like Texas a little bit. On all fours, I am a seat for the wind. Most of my family's international travel is being sent to war. If we judge love, we can kill off anything. Dragged by our hair across the days until they make their way inside our dreams, where we get to evict them. I want to thank the one who invented knocking on the door, but no one remembers their name to tattoo across my knuckles. I asked an archaeologist about first time she stuck a shovel in the ground. Her answer had same restorative powers as the grave diggers. When we die, we can no longer wipe the muck off. Just lie there, becoming shit of the world. Eat a chip of your own dried blood. Join me in the cannibal sunshine, fully persuaded by the world through song. Each morning, a blue jay screams at edge of the clear-cut forest. I scream with her at the bleeding stumps. Scream inside something borrowed, like ocean, like skin. I want to see before I die a mink wearing a human scarf, skin from a handsome hairy leg. Meow. Next, please. Just one more from this book. Here it is. Memories of Why I Stopped Being a Man for Jason Dodge. It's normal if your cock gets hard. I was 13 when the first time I went deer hunting with my uncle. I just can't imagine saying this to a child. It's so ridiculous. It's normal if your cock gets hard while you are shooting, my uncle told me on my first deer hunt. Pythagoras knew the music of Jupiter and Mercury long before NASA. But to begin again, no hero itching at the door, that never-ending search for weakness in neighbors, siblings, coworkers, rival football teams. After seeing the open body of muscle and blood, we had horrible ideas about what to do with our lives. Imagine how they gathered around the first cannon ever fired, sweaty, excited, rock hard. Before he died, Kalishnikov confessed to suffering unbearable nightmares. Surrender your nouns to my verbs, he said. And a game of Russian roulette. I want a pair of glasses that can see the wind. I walk around town each night, watching the slightest breeze approach dry leaves like a premonition. After a million years of dreaming, the solution is still the same. Hold me to your bruised song until it warms me right. Next, please. So that is where we come to this book. So after all that extinction, I was like, oh my God. I knew I needed to fall in love with the world in a new way. You can't live in extinction. If we're going to make any change, you got to love what's here. So starts during COVID lockdown. I'm in Seattle, Washington. I got pulled off the road. I was living on the road, and then I, luckily for me, because nobody was letting anybody get an apartment, my publisher in Seattle had an apartment that they used for visiting writers, and I thought it would be there a month at the most, and of course it turned into, 2 years? But I don't know if you're familiar with Seattle, but it's one of the world's largest populations of crows. And next, please. And the thing is, I started feeding the crows. That's Elliott Bay in the background. And this particular crow one day did this wonderful thing where it closed their eyes and then leaned forward. And I just reached out and pet their beak, and that was what they wanted me to do. And that's what we would do. And then, next, please. Then they started bringing me gifts. It was a whole bartering system. And the first gift was that twig that you see in the middle. And, I wasn't sure if it was really for me. It was, but it seemed like it was because they would pick it up and shake it and then sit it down and tap their beak and then shake it and tap the glass. I was like, it seems like this for me. But when that second gift came, that little piece of translucent plastic, that nub of plastic, that was a decision. I know who's going to like this, Sorry, my knee hurts. Then there are all these other things they need. I needed 4, 5, and 6. I needed a lot of 7. I need a lot of those. And then this piece of gold foil came on the 12th day. And I had this dream about this bossy ex-boyfriend who was like, you better thank that crow, he brought you gold. Next, please. Oh, and then, the great thing is after COVID lockdown, I'm a Capricorn. We're really good alone. This shit could have gone for 10 years, in that apartment. I would have been fine. My Pisces friends were like ripping their hair out, calling me up every day. I'd be like, let's write a poem. They're like, I can't. But anyway, my point is when COVID lockdown ended, nobody was going to artist residencies. Nobody wanted to be alone anymore. But I was like, I can go to any artist residency I want. So I went to Joshua Tree to continue this work with the animals, and I worked with coyotes. Next, please. This is the kangaroo rat. This creature only lives in the Mojave Desert. It has evolved its tail like a rudder when the rattlesnakes are out at night for it. And because they work in pairs, these rattlesnakes, to get these creatures. So if it sees a rattlesnake, it can move its tail so it can land in a different direction. Next, please. And then I have this, I use the word assertive for myself, but when it comes to the art world, I'm always like, just a little pushy, I guess, because they want, look, for thousands of years, poets have been abused by artists. We're always being asked to write poems about how great they are and all this, ekphrastic stuff. No, I don't do that. I'm not your critic. And whenever I'm invited to do readings at openings, I say, no, thank you, I don't do that. And when they say, what do you mean by that? I said, I'm not here to entertain your rich people coming to buy. No, I'm not doing it. But then eventually they said, what do you want? I said, put me in the show. And then they do, That's how all that got started, which I'll show you later. But this is from the Macro in Rome, Italy, the Modern Museum. I said, I want to be an exhibit for 2 months. They said, no. I said, I want to be an exhibit for 1 month. They said, no. I said, I want to be an exhibit for 3 weeks. They were like, why? And when I explained, they were like, well, okay. But every morning I would run out to feed the rats. Oh my God, the rats in Rome. They're not like rats I'm used to. These are like shampooed, blow-dried rats. They're really, and they're very, very personable and kind. And there was a woman, a little bit older than me, and she was like, the police will send you back to America. You can't feed the rats. So we would do lookout for one another. Next, please. I'm going to read some. Now, the thing is about this new book, I convinced my publisher, and it wasn't that hard to, I actually had this whole way of okay, I'm going to bring it to Joshua Beckman, and I'm going to couch it this way and see what he says. And he said yes immediately. I said, I really, really, really want my book to not have page numbers. He said, sure, it was great. I was hoping somebody would want that one day, he said. But now when I'm reading from the book, it's a bit of an issue. I have to know them by their shapes, which I do, and nonetheless. Our first lightning strike was convulsive. We felt sad for our violence after exterminating wolves and bison. We do not need a doctor to say, dance, dance, dance before the song runs out. Learn how to live so wilderness never becomes mythology. We put them in parks to be wild on purpose, a museum of fur, fangs, and hooves. Next, please. So this book was just translated into Greek by Christali, this extraordinary poet. She's amazing. She's like this dyke philosopher in Athens who just argues with you about everything. I love her. And her girlfriend, they argue about the shapes of clouds. They're great. Next, please. And she got them in the shapes. That's the cover of the book. Next, please. Okay, let's see if I can find that one. Of course, I didn't do these in order, so just give me 1 second. Here we are. Do you like your species? Is my latest questionnaire. Meet me at the quarry where Michelangelo conjured David. Fallingness felt all over the body the next day. Imagine trees hurting on the forest floor, our every cell singing the ghost of we shall rise again. If you call this planet evil one more time, I will have to learn to hold you better. Next. Now this poem, Anne Boyer, I always call her the poet Anne Boyer, because to me she's a poet. She published this in the New York Times, which is kind of fancy, right? Whatever. They helped us get invade Iraq. I don't like them that much. Lying about WMDs. But anyway, when it was published, she's like, I'm really sorry these people are trashing you online. I was like, oh, I don't care. Let me see, And it's these men, these grumpy men, they're like, you don't know how to write a poem. They're like rewriting my poem in the comments. This doesn't rhyme. I'm like, dude, that's a 150-year-old conversation you want to have with me. And then I just would say, thank you, Daddy. They're all acting like they're Andre Breton, being tyrants over everybody, And then I said, your poor wife. We stopped studying the night sky for directions. If someone said we made it up, planet Earth isn't real, we would try to verify, try to be sure. Critics are the evidence we do not trust ourselves. Your imagination is asking for parole. What is your verdict, warden? Try to always remember the calendar made of light our ancestors followed to pass the year. Next. My mother died while I was writing this. She had 32 guns in the house when she died. And the thing is, when I'm in Europe teaching and I do readings, people are like, what? And I was like, you don't understand. And in the end of 2024, the stats came out, roughly 350 million Americans and roughly 475 million guns in households, 125 million more guns than people. So all this conversation that I was a Democrat for most of my life, but I'm just sick of, I don't want to be anything anymore. And, all this, like, the gun laws. The gun laws are about buying guns. What good is that when there's already 125 million more than there are people? A shotgun above every door where I grew up. I did not mean to get her ashes on my shoes. I will wait to walk in the rain, refusing to exert the stress of time. Everyone envied everyone's shotgun behind their backs. Our favorite game when I was a baby was to throw me off the roof, then run downstairs to catch me. Oh, how we laughed. Next, please. I taught workshops on Zoom, of course, during COVID lockdown, and hope we don't ever have to do that again. But I was getting people, there's seats up here. Oh, there's a seat okay. So I was getting people to have new relationships with their refrigerators, because that's where your body is kept before it becomes your body, all this food. And we did a lot of things with it. Do you want to hear what we did? So you can try. So I asked everybody you should do a lot of things with the refrigerator. Many, endless things you can do. But then I said, okay, well, go onto the make and model of online of your refrigerator, the website. Every refrigerator has a website. And then go to the repair menu. The drop-down menu on the repairs has a diagram or an X-ray, it looks like, of the organs of the machine printed out. And then also print out a diagram, those drawings that nurses and doctors use when they're in school to show, it's like these drawings and you see the human organs exposed, and then print that out and have them side by side on the refrigerator. I'm having everybody having these conversations every day with their pre-bodies. Refrigerators are where we keep our bodies before they become our bodies, spinning inside routines this living provides. We sense language travel on our constant breath. Open a friend's refrigerator to yell, "Hello, future friend!" Human beings are a symptom of the Big Bang. Gun stores fill with shoppers. Bombs mark the sky with our pledge. I think you'll notice that they all stand on the bottom of the page. The first 30 years of my life writing, they were just on the left margin, like most poems seem to be. And then it was just impossible. These spirits that we write with, they weren't allowing me to do that. And I just surrendered. So, next, please. Oh, that's another Greek. Okay. Next, please. So I'm going to finish now by reading some of these brand new pieces. This ritual I'm doing, I watch the sunrise wherever I'm at. And tomorrow morning, if anybody wants to join me, it's 6 a.m. Where were we meeting again? At an ice cream shop on the beach. Bradford Beach Ice Cream Shop is where we're going to meet. Bring a lawn chair or something. And, if you get there, I'll be there before 6 because I want to see the whole thing. But if you get there by 6, you should be able to see dawn, the colors approach. But what I like about watching sunrise is, it's different, of course, from sunset, as the fact that we've been in darkness before the sun rises, right? So the point is, I'm out there before the sun rises, before dawn, so that my eyes adjust, and I can see the nouns on the landscape, But the thing I look for is the rollover. Just as the sun comes out, everything you're seeing vanishes. All the nouns become this one giant lava rock, like where we all came from. Just this big thing. And then the sun comes out. And it's also completely dark and quiet. And as soon as it's light, birds are singing, if there are still birds there. Next, please. Oh. Maybe you went the wrong way. Okay. Thank you. That's all right. This is Iowa. I love seeing sunrise in Iowa. Next, please. This is where I live in Western Massachusetts. Anyway, next, please. So, the sun's always rising, right? It's never not rising. And so what I do is, next, please. Later in the day after watching the sunrise, I'll watch the sunrise again on an outdoor public webcam. That's Istanbul up there, and then this is the Tokyo rail yards. This one down on the bottom has a great, like the best microphone. You can hear people down on the side, way down there, and see the sidewalk on the bottom right-hand corner? You can hear people talk. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know Japanese, but next, please. There's a lonely castle in England somewhere. Everything's like that there. Next, please. Now, this is a painting that I actually got to see in person. Edward Munch, who did this, famous for The Scream. This is a painting I have loved for many years, and I finally got to see it. It's so massive they had to build a room just for it. It's about 2.5 stories high and much wider. And the thing is about his son, look at it. He gets it. Like Nikola Tesla, not Elon Musk. Nikola Tesla says, if you want to understand the secrets of this universe, focus on energy, vibration, and frequency. Like I went to this restaurant today and had the longevity noodles for lunch. I forget the name of this place. Mamma Mia. It's great. And so it gave me energy to like move my big mouth and then send air out so that the frequency comes to you and then your ear picks it up because you ate whatever you ate. It's just all about this. Look at it. Everything's in vibration. The air, the water, the land is vibrating. Next, please. Okay, I'm going to end by reading some of these. And Marla, thank you so much Marla did this beautiful stenciling of these first 2 poems I'm going to read on the wall and the window. All right, I have these on my phone now. Let's see. Fruit fly, born in hotel room, died in hotel room. You think I asked for this dream? Spanning an entire known world? I might dance around you if you get a pair of bunny pants. No one can afford to lose love. I have explored the alternative. It is a wasteland. Next, please. This is the one that's on the outside of the building. There is a welcome posture, the sun does. I wait for it. Hold myself against it all day. Hang a string on my ear with a note saying, let's get this place cracking. Your encouragement was everything. At first I thought, your tiny sponge was no match for my muddy window. I want to be the friend who accepts your gifts. Sing with wind as though it is a duet. Then suddenly it is. Next. This is the latest one. I just finished this one the other day. You need a temperature of 1800 to turn a heart to ash. Fire needs no fork at the feast. Mourners are a collective memory understood by my 9th funeral of friends who died of AIDS. I'd like to see you try telling the heart it has to leave. We get new feet when we reincarnate. I'm always so excited to see them, aren't you? Next, please. I feel felt by another, but I'm alone in the room. I sing, it gets stronger. Feel it on my skin. A letter in the past tense about the future is my latest time machine. You should try it. I lean with motion this way, then that. I am not on a boat. I'm in conversation with a friend who died years ago. They are fine, have a new job. Everything else is private now. Must end this poem right here. Next. So chickens. Chickens can live to be up to 30 years old. Almost every single chicken on this planet dies before they're 1 because we're evil beasts. But I was at a no-kill shelter farm, and I was with a chicken that was 17 years old, and we had a great time. This is for her. Everyone's drawing the death card, the chair pressing 4 legs against a thought, amplifying Thanatos over our dome of sleep. I met an old chicken, the rarest of chickens. We spent the day inspecting every bit of life in a field gone wild. Next. The magician was surprised the rabbit was dead in the hat. Things get to you if you shovel them in the wrong direction. Everyone cried, then booed him off stage. headed without pause into a furnace of ideas before learning of the expiration date. All these ghosts miss the deadline. None of their answers will be considered. Feed me your snowflake. Feed it to me now. Next. I wrote this right after Alice Notley died. A great poet dies. This is what it felt like for Catholics when the Pope died. She stopped speaking to spirits to become one. A curse upon all greedy bastards withholding so much affection. We never engage, so much affection. We never engage every key at once. It is one quiet turning at a time, aligned and misaligned disharmony. I did a tarot reading while the operator had me on hold. When she came back, I said, I'm sorry, but my cards say to tell you no thank you. My fingers toiled the tangles free. Next. We forget the Pledge of Allegiance on the path to finding no, a flower widening a crack in the rock. When we excel as father's least favorite, it's time to put a foot in the poem. I tell you there's nothing like waking in the flutter, passing hours of barbed wire across America, the road beneath us, the only public space. Next. This is the last one. I'm going to end by showing you some images of shows. Go ahead. Call me a child for asking, is there no war somewhere? Instead of this daily butterfly fighting suck a fan blade. You should break up is my only relationship advice. On the way to slaughter, pigs on truck pass deer with broken neck. Where love is merely an afterthought, we must banish the intrusions or become them. Next, please. So I'm just going to show you some of my latest shows. This is up right now, and I'm wearing the same shirt. This is a great place. All of the art being sold will be going to this farm, and it's all for food emergency, people who can't afford food. Next. This is in Shamlacombe in London. These are on chiffon. I only go by what the galleries can afford. Sometimes it's fabric, but that's about 9 feet. Next, please. In the basement, there are 4 poems that you have to stand between. I thought it would be nice to, like the British are a little, they don't really like doing this sort of thing. So I thought if you're going to read this, you're going to have to get inside there. And these poems are all about war and also like this anti-trans stuff we're all living with. Next, please. This was in Tucson, at the Mocha. These stood between 6 and 9 feet tall. There was a reporter who was like, why are they so big? It was almost accusatory. I said, because I believe that the artists have been right for thousands of years about the spirits we write with, and they're bigger than us, that's why. And she said, oh. I said, well, what did you think I was going to say? She said, I thought it was an ego thing. I said, look, I've been doing this for 50 years. It's none of your business if I do it for an ego thing, but it's not. Next, please. That's on opening night, just so you can see how tall they are. Next. And this is in Anafi, Greece. Do you know Anafi? It says you get to Athens, and you have to take an 8-hour boat ride to get to the island. It's so remote. Do you know Jason and the Argonauts, the story? The ancient? So in Jason and the Argonauts, you might remember the god Apollo comes down because the Argonauts and Jason are trapped in a violent storm, and they're about to capsize and all die. And Apollo shoots an arrow to part the clouds and reveal an island, and Anafi means to reveal. And then became the shelter for pirates for centuries. And during World War II, the communists would hide there from the Nazis. And the Communist Party now has the International Communist Party has sculptures there commemorating all that. Next. That's another one from Anafi. Next, please. And this was a show that I did in Portugal. Next, please. And in Spain. Next, please. Oh, can you go back once? That movie in the middle, Kevin Killian, years ago commissioned me to write a play for San Francisco Poets Theater, and it's called The Obituary Show, and the Brazilian artist Augusto Cascales made a film of it. Next, please. Melbourne. Next, please. I think this is the last one. This is where it all started. Angela Conant was really lovely, and She said, "I want you to come and do a reading for us at the beginning of this show about toxic masculinity and war, and I like this poem, the one I read to you earlier about war, Kalashnikov and all that." And I said, "No, thank you, I don't do that." And she says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I don't want to read at your opening. Put me in the show." She says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Put this poem on the wall." And then she had the idea of using the chiffon. I can't think of a single piece of male-identified clothing on chiffon, and it shimmers in this beautiful way when a breeze hits it. Anyway, that's it. I'm pretty sure it's. Is there any more? That's it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you all again for being here. Just a reminder that, thanks Molly, there is now food out front, so enjoy yourselves, stick around, enjoy the good company, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.